Thanks for coming by for another Monster Monday, the best way to start your week. Last week, I featured an original machine from Cameron McLeod, and this week, I get to show off one of my original monsters for the first time in far too long. Featuring the awesome Art of Seth monster, grab your rain gear and let's go check out the Caustic Cloud.
Acid rain pouring down like egg chow mein.
Fittingly enough, this concept came to me after an entire day spent working in the rain, and my hate for the weather was at an all-time high. However, aside from the vileness of storm clouds while I'm working, a prominent aspect of the Caustic Cloud is that it is an ooze from an unexpected angle. Classically, oozes are encountered in dungeons or sewers, ground-bound if not completely underground. But my Caustic Cloud is an almost permanent resident of the sky, descending only to dine on the denizens beneath it. This allowed me to make a very different sort of ooze, which isn't always necessarily something I want to do, but it is something I want to take advantage of when I have the opportunity. Speaking of the specifics of its design, I specifically built the Caustic Cloud, an almost permanently flying creature, as a level 10 creature, as flight commonly becomes available to players around level 9, or just a bit earlier at level 7 when casters gain access to the Fly spell. This grants the players a chance to at least have a way to deal with this ooze, especially when it can pester them from afar with its long reach and its acidic rain. This is an important discussion to have when it comes to oozes, as they tend to have rather unique numbers compared to other creatures. Our ooze here has a high strength and constitution for its level, exhibiting extraordinary might in its attack, and boasting the abnormal toughness that is a bit more usual among other oozes. Its only other positive ability score is a low wisdom, which means half of its ability scores are in the negatives. Many of these are typical for an ooze, though I gave it a slightly higher intelligence than normal based on its unique hunting methods. Fitting its low wisdom, it has a terrible perception score, and completely lacks vision at all. But it does have motion sense for when it gets close to enemies, and then a range sense to detect prey while drifting over them. This particular feature can also help it hunt down creatures that attempt to flee it beyond the range of its motion sense, using its unusually high fly speed to chase them down. Or, with its moderate athletics, it might very well just be able to lock down enemies before they even get a chance to do so. Though it has another way of discouraging that, which we'll see down in its abilities. However, before we get to that, we should take a look at its defenses. Its armor class is moderate for a level 2 creature. This isn't unusual for oozes, which naturally have immunity to critical hits, and it's further compensated with HP that would be high for a level 11 creature. I do want to point out to folks that might not be aware, while the Caustic Cloud is immune to critical hits, it isn't immune to the effects of a critical failure on a save, so you can still blast it apart with the likes of Fireball. It has further immunity to acid damage based on its chemical makeup, as well as precision damage, unconsciousness, and visual effects. Its saving throws are also a little off. It has a high fortitude, but its reflex is low for a level 5 creature, a creature half the level of its own. Again, this is just kind of standard for oozes, which I did generally follow in the design of this Caustic Cloud because they are such unique creatures. It closes out its defenses with a low will save, based on its low wisdom, and because the game doesn't seem necessarily inclined to penalize an ooze's will save, unlike its reflex save. As for its offenses, the Caustic Cloud has a single strike to its name in the form of its pseudopod. This moderate attack bonus strike only has a reach trait, which allows the Caustic Cloud to harass foes from afar. The relative safety of this attack led to me using a damage value just below high, thanks to the extra acid damage on it. Notably, it also has a grab ability on its pseudopods, which is actually inspired by the artwork that Seth Monster sent me on this gooey guy. I've already covered the Caustic Cloud's motion sense and range sense, which means that we can talk about some of the more fun abilities that I've put together for it, such as its ability to disguise itself as a cloud. Alright, this one is a little basic, but allows the Caustic Cloud to disguise its true nature, and is based off of the statue ability of the Gargoyle with an equally insane DC. I'm honestly not sure how Paizo arrived at this number, but the gargoyle uses a high DC for a creature 8 levels above its own. So that's what I ended up doing as well for this particular ability. An equally innocuously named ability in the Caustic Clouds kit is Bubble.
My bubbles.
This is what allows it to fly and float through the air, or it can use this single action to instantly pop all of its bubbles and cause itself to plummet on potential prey. Notably, this has the Flourish trait, to prevent the Caustic Cloud from doing this to a party and then immediately lifting back into the air on the same turn. This is important because when the Caustic Cloud drops onto prey, it will also engulf the creatures it lands on, so we should probably take a look at what that exactly means. Based off of the other oozes I've observed, I used a moderate DC for the reflex save to avoid the engulf effect, and for the escape check, whereas the rupture damage is based on low damage for its level. Creatures entrapped by this ooze take unlimited use area damage as they are slowly dissolved within the creature until they manage to escape, which they should endeavor to do expeditiously, because if given even a round, the Caustic Cloud will then use its bubble action to lift back up into the air once more and carry its prey skyward. This means that even if they do escape, they will likely have some falling damage to contend with, unless of course the party or character has prepared for such a possibility. The baseline Caustic Cloud has one final feature, Intensify Rain. This single action causes the normally harmless acid rain of the Caustic Cloud to fall in greater volume and with greater acidity. A little different than your standard area effect, this targets the area directly beneath the Caustic Cloud, dealing unlimited use area damage to all creatures caught in this deadly downpour with a high DC reflex save. When a creature fails this save, it becomes Clumsy 1 for a single round, which is intended to help set the Caustic Cloud up to use its engulf, since that does require a reflex save to avoid it. As a final note, I included a sidebar for the Caustic Cloud that details a variant version of it that has access to some electricity-based spells. These spells use a moderate DC and spell attack, and are still a rank lower than what most creatures of its level would have access to, since, even with this variant, it isn't meant to be the Caustic Cloud's main thing. That about covers the stratus of this abnormal ooze. A certainly serious stalker, it seeks suspects to serve as its supper, sinking through cerulean skies to suspend such suckers in its sinister self. The Caustic Cloud is a great random encounter to throw at your players. They hanging around outside? Well then, they're in prime position to be prey for this putrid predator. You could also involve them in a greater story, possibly having them be spawned by a new industry in the area that's pumping pollution into the sky, and resulting in their formation. Or you could have an evil caster of some sort controlling a storm of Caustic Clouds to ruin the lands of others in some scheme. Let me know what you think of this creature and what other sorts of monsters you'd like to see in a comment. If you like what you see here and want more, be sure to leave a like and then subscribe to the channel. You can also check out the blog, which is linked below along with the Twitter and Discord. Thanks for watching and have a monstrous Monday.